welcome to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk. And this, my friends, is The Thunder Show, a.k.a. the Internet's most passionate wine program. And we have a guest, Eric Orange, in the house. How are you, my man?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Why don't you tell the Vayner Nation out there who you are and the website that you have, which I think is one of the really neat websites on the internet for any wine lover. And I'm excited you're here. So why don't you tell them who you are, what site you got, a little bit about yourself.
I am Eric Orange. That's Eric Orange, like the color. I have localwineevents.com, which is...
Link it up.
What was that?
You got to link it up.
Oh, I was
yeah, well,
I wasn't sure what that meant.
That's what we do.
Got it. It's a calendar of food and wine events going on around the world by city. That's it in a nutshell. If you want to find out what's going on in Philadelphia, Sydney, London, all over the world, we have events that are being posted to the site. And if you'd like, you can sign up for the Juice, our newsletter. It goes out every Tuesday. It gives you a 30-day calendar of what's coming up. It's free. It's a free subscription. We have almost 110,000 subscribers now to the Juice. And again, it goes out every Tuesday.
Harry, you know what I like about you and why I thought it'd be cool to have you on the show is, like WineLibrary.com, which I launched in '97. Local Wine Events has been. You're not new.
No, 2000.
You're not that
July.
new, Eric.
We just turned 9 actually. July.
You're 9 now.
July of.
It's a huge birthday. That's when you get like a transformer. You know what to do with it. You have a party. Maybe go to Chuck E. Cheese, play a couple of video games. Gauntlet 4-player.
Well, it started right at the as the boom.
Which is the best time to start a company.
Actually, I think
pay attention. It's happening now.
I think it worked out well for me, timing-wise.
What made you do that?
I used to sell wine for Paterno Imports.
Okay.
Now Terlato Wines.
Yep.
I tell this story often. I did a dinner in Denver one night and had 6 people show up. But at the same time, I would do tastings. I would go to dinners, and people would say,
"So you were upset about this, right?"
Well, it was embarrassing. I had a French winemaker in town. I had a great restaurant set up. We did a nice dinner.
And who's in charge of promoting it? The restaurant?
Well, it's a restaurant, retailer, and myself. To some extent, myself. I mean, I was
basically,
a supplier.
At the end of the day,
the wholesalers are
yeah, but you wholesalers don't do anything anyway. You know that.
Not me. I was a supplier.
I'm just kidding. No, I think at the end of the day, but not kidding. At the end of the day, a consumer event is usually going to be the restaurant and retailer going to do promotions.
Yeah, and
what are you going to do? Tell some people?
We did a cross promotion between the restaurant and the retailer, but again, it was just.
And how upset was the?
They played it off. I mean, we had other things to do. That we were going up into the mountains, going to Aspen, and
so this had to be
what? So it was sort of
was it a Burgundy or a Rhone producer?
No, Champagne actually, Ruinart.
Ruinart, sure.
And I love it. It's one of my favorite champagnes.
Great stuff.
And
Ruinart Rosé.
Again, it was just one of those things where I thought to myself, man, if everybody in the industry, because I knew suppliers like myself throughout.
Right. You didn't think you were the only one who got devastated with a couple people at a tasting.
So I said, I started then and there. I started saying, let's all put them in one place. The internet had come along, and I was intrigued with the whole idea. And I said, let's start just put.
So what did you do?
Well, I did that initially for a retailer in Colorado by the name of Lucas Liquors.
Okay.
We were trying to sell wine online
as
well. That sort of turned out to be a disaster. But I recognized from that people were looking at that events page.
Now, was that a disaster because amazing people like Wine Library were kicking butt?
No, this was the early days before. And essentially, the reason that it would work for him was because he had several stores in several states.
I see.
And that's what I said. Why don't we do? We had
so
5 states.
You left Paterno to go work with this guy, or you did it because he was a client and you were teaming up with him?
I left Paterno because I just personality issues, as in any job.
So you had a bad personality and it was time for you to go.
Pretty much, that's it. As my wife says,
just want to clear that up.
I'm not corporate material.
Right.
I just quit. I said, you know what, I've had enough of this.
Yep.
I quit, and again, the internet popped up. I took computer classes for about 3 months. Enough to get familiar with, front page, how to make a web page, how to get it up there.
HTML.
And it worked. Again, I put the thing together within about 6 months. U.S. News and World Report mentioned it, which, aside from the spike in traffic, really gave it legitimacy, I think, in a lot of people's eyes.
Sure.
And the fact that I came from the business.
Yeah, you knew
there were a lot of people out there that were trying stuff with wine that just, they had nothing other than
they were trying to make money, and they didn't have a backdrop for it.
And mine was to serve a purpose.
All right, so local wine events. I'm sure a lot of Vayniacs, a lot of people watching the show know it. Hopefully, some people will check it out. It's a very valuable service. Let's talk about you and wine. Oh, I gotta fix the live stream. Why don't you tell? You stay here. Why don't you tell the Vayner Nation the kind of wines you like to drink?
I get in a rut sometimes. I am sort of stuck on California Cabernets right now. It usually takes a visit like this to remind me that there's a lot of good wines out there that come from other countries, other states. But I like big reds, big bold reds.
All right, so you like big bold reds, caps.
If I'm sitting around as sort of a cocktail, I mean, I really lean towards red. With the dinner, you know, I like the subtleties of the French wines with the dinner.
Yep.
Italian foods are made for that stuff, for the Italian wines. I love that combination of stuff. But
are you a traditionalist that way? Like you feel like the Italian wines are made for the Italian cuisine?
Certainly, when I visit Italy, I firmly
do you feel like it's the romance of being on a trip and you're calm and you're happy and you're not, you know, the blackberry's not going off?
You know what? We were over in Italy. I had a chance to try Lambrusco.
Sure.
And you know what Lambrusco is like in this country. It's just, you know, hasn't traditionally been.
Yeah, it's just not a varietal that really.
But there we were drinking that with dinner, and certainly the ambiance has a lot to do with it.
Sure.
I'm telling you, it was good wine, surprisingly good wine.
Yeah, we did an episode not too long ago about Lambrusco. I mean, listen, in the U.S., Riuniti was such a juggernaut.
Yeah.
It was selling millions
Exactly.
of cases.
I think that's what most people think of these days.
Yeah, but you know what? There's also a version of a lot of people that think that's what Shiraz is because they drink Yellowtail because it's such a big player. So, I mean, or Chardonnay was Kendall Jackson, right?
White's Inn.
Right. Or Sutter Home White's Inn, or a Paterno favorite that drove that company, Santa Margherita Pinot Grigio. A lot of people think that's what Pinot Gris and Pinot Grigio is. So I think sometimes brands explode and people's perception of the whole category goes in a certain direction.
I think you're right. I mean, there was a lot of that. With Paterno, Santa Margherita was our
workhorse.
It works. You know, people bought it.
Yeah. Okay. So you like big reds.
Big reds.
And now we have really little whites.
Yeah, I just thought we'd go
Muscat.
French and get some. You know, you mentioned Muscat, and I like.
Do you know what Matt's idea was? The orange Muscat idea. And then you said you could be up for Muscat. So what is your, knowledge or? I mean, I can't imagine you've had a bottle of Muscat.
In years. I
Right?
worked at Millbrook Vineyards in the early
Nice.
days, and we were growing Muscat, and it was one of the few grapes you could pick off the vine and enjoy.
Delicious. Yeah.
But I have not. It's been years. I mean,
Yeah.
I did some sweet, seems like some sweet Muscat at a dinner. But
let's talk about Muscat. It's grown in so many places. It's such a big workhorse grape. There's just a lot of places in the world. Chile, for example, has a lot of Muscat that a lot of people don't really even realize. It's a grape that is very easy drinking, very inexpensive at times. As a matter of fact, the first wine we're going to have is from Portugal. Is 6 bones. 6. I mean, you can't buy some soda for $6 these days. So I'm excited about that. It also has enormous quality. The place where I think I really get excited about Muscat is in the Alsace in France. So we have one from Rene Barth, but it's an 04, which is definitely a vintage a lot of people won't normally come to mind and say, okay, you think about Muscat as an early drinking vintage, so I'm very curious of what's going on there. And then you picked an Austrian wine, which is not completely Muscat. It looks like it's got 20% Muscat. So this one's kind of off kilter. It's got 40% Goldberg Muscatel and 40% Sauvignon Blanc, but it's on the table, and why not drink it, right?
I'm interested.
So let's get into the first wine, Mott. I'm going to give you an angle to play with a little bit today. The Adeja de Pogas 08 Dry Muscat from Portugal, 6 US dollars.
You wonder how they can do that. How they can get it over to this country.
I truly feel like it's like child labor or something. It's crazy. I mean, like, how do you possibly? I mean, I know how much glass is, and then you got to ship it here, and then the distributor has. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, it's like unbelievable that $6 wine. So aromatically, this is a grape varietal that gets a lot of people excited. It's also a varietal that a lot of people use as an entry play after having whites in. A lot of you have emailed me, Twittered me, Facebooked me, and said things like, how do I get my boyfriend or my girlfriend into wine? And, you're always looking for that wine to get them into the fold. Muscat is a very interesting category that has the potential to do that for people because of the fruitiness and the easy drinkability of it. So keep it in mind. Text yourself. It's 2009. Don't write it down. And so you have it on hand. And remember, this is a varietal that can possibly bring a little of that thunder. It's also worth mentioning, Mott, if you can zoom here, a little bit of frizzante action. And that happens quite often with Muscat. It's got a little bubbles. So let's see what's going on. Little snippy snip out.
I love the fragrance of these wines. These things just
Yeah,
It's almost like flowers.
No question. This has enormous flowers. What else are you smelling?
Almost a little cedar in the...
I don't get as much... Oh, you know what? I don't get as much wood or cedar. I get the flowers for sure. I also get enormous amounts of apricot on the nose for me. And a little bit like a melon. Almost like a cantaloupe melon kind
cantaloupe
of, right?
Definitely. That one popped right out when you said it.
So, little cantaloupe, little melon. There's also a little zestiness, almost like lime spritzy kind of action to it. It's very fresh. And it almost feels like you should take it like this and put it... Don't you feel like it's almost like perfume-like? I feel like if I was walking down Neiman Marcus and somebody would just like stick their fingers and put it... Yeah, I feel like it's almost perfume-like. Do you agree with that?
That's funny. Well, it is. I mean, again, the fragrancy of these wines have always been enormous. You know, again, even in the vineyards when we had them, you could
eat it. Yeah, it's
smell
crazy.
it.
Let's give it a whirl.
They were big.
So this is a dry wine. It's not a sweet wine, so keep that in mind. Maybe, you know, a Riesling Spätlese or a Dr. L Riesling or maybe even a White Zin. I'm not going to pound on the pink. I'm not against it. Anything to get people to start opening their mind to drinking wine if they're not. I think this is a great opportunity to have somebody drink this because it's not intrusive. It's very easy drinking. It's light.
Great for the patio. I mean, this is the kind of wine that I think it is an easy transition from traditional White Zin type drinkers. I mean, this thing it's light. I mean, it's got the.
Do you find it too light and boring?
It
like a piece of white paper.
It seems to finish up pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty boring at some level as well.
But again, I mean, I could see it out on the deck. You know, it's a hot afternoon. You got it nice and chilled. I could see this as being a pretty good.
Yeah, I think what Eric's trying to tell you is this wine is so light and easy drinking. You can pound the crap out of it.
There you go, quaff it.
So, I really do feel like you can probably drink an entire bottle by yourself, and I'm not even sold that if you would feel it. What's the alcohol content?
Well, you notice I'm drinking.
Yeah, I noticed you are. Well, I spit because I like, you know, I can't find the alcohol.
I've got the afternoon
12%. Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, responsible drinking, of course. You know that. I don't drink anything on the show, as you guys know. It's just very easy drinking. It's very light. I agree it's a porch wine. This is a perfect play for if you're going to play, like, horseshoes in the backyard and you need like 5 cold bottles of wine. You know I like room temperature, but you know it's very easy drinking, but it's definitely not massively complex or really that interesting.
And at that price point, it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've got nothing against it. It's a classic 83, 84, 85 point wine. SS Chris, pick your score for the spreadsheet. I don't mind it. It's a good example of what dry Muscat does. It's very fragrance driven. You're going to get those apricot, melon, dried peach flavors, which are quite fine, and definitely, this outperforms and is more exciting and borderline more complex than even a lot of the standard Pinot Grigio wines in the marketplace between $8 and $12 a bottle. So, if you're looking for a little bit of crispness, clean, well-priced, doesn't hurt the pocketbook, and more importantly, just to expand your palate and get you into a place where you try new things, you've got to go out and try a dry Muscat. You know, Portugal, you know I love it. It's not, you know, insane. Probably one of the lower scoring Portuguese wines we've had. Portugal's got a good run on Wine Library TV, but it was definitely worthwhile. I mean, it's not bothering me. All right, this I'm massively fascinated about because even my own, and you guys know I'm the least wine prejudice kind of person there is. 04 is going to be interesting to see how it's holding up. I'm going to ask you to rinse. All right.
Rinse, that's the rinse. Part of the sniffy sniff.
Yeah, I don't want it to be, but sometimes I just double up words on the show. All right, 15 bones, René Barth, a very substantially solid producer in the Alsace, 2004, and we'll see what's going on here. Again, this is the area of the world that I think really tends to shine. I think you'll notice there's much more of a golden color component to this wine, you know, indicating possible depth. Let's give it a sniffy sniff. This is the older one? Yeah.
Plenty.
You know, it's funny. I think I have my first baby reference for a wine. This smells a little Pampers-like to me. Just a hair. I mean it. I agree. By the way, the flintiness is right on point. I think it's absolutely crushed rock component, but there's something going on here that does smell like under 6 month old Pampers with a big bird on the pamper. There's something here a little bit. It's kind of weird. It's the fragrance. It's almost like an artificial
My
nice smell.
experience with Pampers is about 8 years out now, so I can't really. I don't pick that up.
I understand. I respect that.
You've got a fresh.
I've got a fresh nose for the Pampers. There's also something else going on here that I'm trying to pinpoint on the nose that I think is quite fascinating and quite distinct. Are you picking up anything else on the nose? Anything pop at you?
No.
There's a lemon play for sure. There's citrus.
The mineral and the flint and the.
There's a little, there is a little. See, I smell more wood on this than the last one. I smell a little on the back end, kind of like a little.
It's fruity. Something in there sort of reminded me of a.
Like a Pampers?
No, not a Pampers. I'm not getting that.
Let's give this a whirl.
Somebody get us a Pampers. It's fruitier in the mouth than I would have thought.
It's also more full. First of all, this has extraordinary weight considering the varietal. It has a good oomph to it.
That's
a little show, right?
That is a beauty.
It's pretty viscous.
Still tasty.
Covers your palate. It's got tremendous lychee meets fig flavors, which I think are fantastic. So this lycheeness that you sometimes see in Gewürztraminer and the fig, I get really distinct fig flavors on the palate. A subtle acidity on the back end. You could tell it had more acid maybe a year or two ago. Now it's calming down. It's becoming a little bit more, like wrinkles, kind of like, respect. I respect this wine a little more. It's lived a little more. I feel like it's got, the wrinkles to prove it, right? It's gone, I like the polish.
This is 04, you said?
This is 04. I also find, Eric, do you agree that this wine is extremely smooth on the back end?
Oh, yeah, the whole thing is a beauty. I'm liking this one a lot. I may have to.
You're feeling it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great wine. It's a great wine. I mean, just the nose. It's even getting more floral than flinty as it warms. I mean, I'm getting a lot.
I'll tell you another flavor I'm picking up on this wine. I'm picking up, played with it a little bit there, papaya. I think there's some interesting papaya flavors that are brought to the table in this wine. It's quite interesting. Has a lot more flavor to it than I expected, and I like it a lot. I'm going to score it 89 plus points. I like it. I think it's a very, very good wine.
I do too.
You like it, huh?
Yeah, I do.
Delish?
I wonder if my wife will.
Is that how you make your decisions on buying wine?
On whites. She makes the decisions on whites.
And you make them on reds?
Yeah.
And how much white are you drinking at home, Vince?
I don't, honestly.
Can we change that here today, Aaron? Can you make a commitment now?
No,
Aaron, I mean, this would be... Aaron, listen.
I like red.
You just went bazonkers for that wine, Aaron.
I like it.
What just happened? You're like, no. What do you mean I like it? You just said it was a beauty twice.
It's not enough for me to sit around and drink this wine. If I were planning a dinner...
Aaron, I see your preconceived prejudices popping out right now. You were so... Was he not into that wine? You were like, this is a beauty. I like it. Wow, it's got more things. It's got more floral on the back. All of a sudden, then we start talking red wine.
I need a dinner with this one, and I just don't see that happening.
What about lobster?
That'd be good if I were going to have lobster. But
what, do you eat lobster?
Sometimes.
Okay, and what do you drink with that lobster?
I have 2 young kids, and our food is
choices.
Fish chips.
Well, perfect. This is better fish and chips than a Cabernet. All right, let's zoom in on the next wine. What we have here is the Heidi Schrock 2007 Muscat, as you can see. But it's, this one kind of throws me for a loop. I don't know if you noticed, Mont. Zoom in here. It says 07 Muscat. Meanwhile, it's only 20% Muscatel, and it's 40% Gerber Muscateller. That's why I got it. That's where the 60 points come in. 40% Sauvignon Blanc. So in theory, clones of Muscat, 60%, 40% Sauvignon Blanc. This wine is 89 points. David Shelnett, who writes for Robert Parker's Wine Advocate, keep in mind, and it's $21 US. So I would not say it's inexpensive. And screw top. It's kind of funny how the wine world is changing. A screw top is today's most expensive wine on the show. It's kind of neat. It's a little.
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm all for screw tops. I don't have anything personal against screw tops at all. And corks can get tainted. But, if you want to age something long term, there's still not enough data to get us super cozy.
I'm with you. I just think it's aggravating when you go, 1 or 2 bottles out of the case.
When you wake up and you want some wine, you want to grab your big cab. You want it to be in the screw top.
It's right next to the bed. All
right, let's give it a sniffy sniff.
There's something in there that I don't want to offend the maker of this wine, but it smelled like, I don't even want to say it. It's canned dog food.
Canned dog food.
Yeah, that's what I got initially when I stuck my nose in there.
That I was unable to pick that up given the fact that I don't have a dog.
It seems to have abated now.
So it was an
but
initial
when I
canned
first
dog
stuck
food.
my nose in there, the flash that I had was,
You know, it's funny. I find this wine pretty aromatically challenged. I think the nose is quite limiting.
You got to draw it really hard to get.
Right? Oh, I like that. Draw it. Yeah, got to draw it.
It's there though. I mean, it's a lot more subtle than the other two, but.
I mean,
and again,
it has a nose.
That first whiff is blowing off. I don't get it now.
You know what I'm picking up? Canned dog food. Actually, I think this wine is pretty limited in its nose. I agree with you. There's clearly things going on. I get a little apple core, a little pear. So it's kind of like green fruits is what I would almost say I'm getting on this. You right?
Acid.
Jeez, I'm still I'm scared of the drink. I'm like...
It's got the green apple in the flavor. And I'm getting that a lot more in the nose.
Yeah, it does. This is Granny Smith all up in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of acid, but it would still be a good fruit.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost like spiked cider. You know, it's like that much. I mean, you're getting a good amount of apples coming through. Very flavored, sliced Granny Smith apples dominate the palate of this wine. It's got some acid. Definitely not ripping, you know, it's not doing what I want, and you know what that is. Take the switchblade, cut my tongue. It's not doing that acid-wise. It's there, and it's integrated quite well.
You like that? You like a lot of acid in it?
Yeah, I want the acid. I want the acid to rip my face off. I want the wine to jump out of the bottle with a knife and
Why? I don't get it. I mean, just as a...
I enjoy white wines with high acid. I think they're great with food. I like...
I agree, they go
You know, it's kind of... Do you drink sparkling water or do you drink regular still water?
I drink sparkling water.
Well, to me, you know, that lends itself to people that would like acid. You know, that's a tougher... You fight with the water a little more when you drink it when it's sparkling than you do with still, right? Just a hair.
A little more effort.
A little more effort. So, you know, it's kind of like that. I like that in my wines. It's funny, I don't like seltzer or club soda as much as still water, but in wines I do prefer higher acid. Especially, you know, it makes me salad. I like when the acid, you know, makes me hungry. It certainly puckers you up. Yeah, it makes me hungry. I like this wine. It's missing a little acid for me, actually. I think for me, a little more acid on the back end would get really exciting. But I do respect the winemaking technique in this wine. This is a flawless, clean effort between the mid-palate and the finish, which you rarely see as pinpoint as this. The biggest takeaway for me, it was great having Eric here and he's the best and this and that. I really want to know who made this wine right now. That's what I'm curious about. Maybe it's Heidi herself. I don't know.
2007.
Yeah, it's very well made.
Still preferred. I think if it had any more acid, I wouldn't care for it personally.
And
I do like it.
The greatest.
It's a nice balance.
Palates.
It's got just enough acid and balance in there to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean,
do like that.
Do you also pick up some of the flintiness? Because I do get a little bluestone-y kind of thing.
In this
How about like
mineral
clamshell? Little clamshell, right? Like,
I could see that.
You know, like it's like kind of shelly. A little bit of that, little seashell action. Well-made wine. I'd probably scored 89. I think Shellneck's got it right. I think that's right where it is. I probably wouldn't drop 21 bones on it. I definitely wouldn't, actually. But it is definitely a worthwhile experience. I'm impressed by the winemaking technique and the quality of the wine. I think a lot of people could like it. It's missing a little oomph factor to get me really excited about it. But all in all, it's fun for me to explore this grape varietal because this is one that I even don't think I drink enough of. I'm very fascinated by what it can do in Portugal because even though I didn't love the first wine because I thought it was too light, it was $6. What happens at $12? Yeah. So I think there's some fascinating aspects there. And it's a varietal that's doing less and less in the U.S. It's also a varietal that a lot of you have drank dessert wines of. Keep that in mind. It's also sparkling. So very flexible, jack of all trades, little Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders-like is Muscat. Can do a lot of different things. And it's a varietal that I think kind of gets disrespected, overlooked. A lot of people have not had any experience with it, and I hope you do. Two big shout-outs. Number one, the Wine Vault on Twitter said, when are you going to give the New Zealand watchers a shout-out? Right now. Big shout out to New Zealand. And Chris the Cop, hardcore commenter, Mott. We might get arrested if we don't give him a shout out. So big shout out to you, Chris. Hope you're doing well. Always great to see you. Always great getting emails from you. Eric, question of the day.
Okay.
Fire away to the Vayner Nation. What is your question of the day?
Question of the day. I'm not sure, actually. It was this something.
This is a tradition. What's going to happen now is a lot of people watching the show are going to not like you anymore because they'll be like, "Oh, you don't even know the show. Now you're on the show. You know the tradition is question of the day." So you've just lost about 50 fans, but no big deal.
All right. I got one. Is there anybody out there who's ever had one of those little pop-ups on your computer that says check online for a solution? Has anybody ever gotten a solution from that? Anyone?
You didn't just throw a curveball. You threw like a knuckle slurve. I like that.
Something that I've been thinking about.
Listen, you're about to get some answers.
One of the things that bugs me.
You, with a little bit of me, we are changing the wine world.